Welcome to another episode of the Valero Verdict Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, I'm going to be continuing on with my Women Appreciation Month podcast series. Throughout the month of December, I will be sharing interviews with women in all different sorts of walk of life. Today, I'm going to speak to my friend who is the writer for NBC Sports, host of the NBC Sports Balk Talk show, as well as the co-host of the Corkdup podcast, Jessica Kleinschmidt. We talked about her career, her love for baseball, and so much more. I really hope you enjoy the interview. I'd like to welcome to the show Jessica Kleinschmidt. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? I'm on my second cup of coffee, so Mama's feeling it. Mama's good right now.
Right. It's the perfect way to start the morning.
Oh my gosh. When I meet people, they're like, they're not coffee people. One of my best friends finally got into coffee recently, which is good because I wouldn't be able to maintain a friendship. Like, how do you do that? Like, you just go through life not drinking coffee. I can't imagine.
It's crazy. I just discovered coffee myself a couple years ago. And
it's fantastic, is it not?
It's a life changer. I literally cannot start a day without it.
So the coffee itself helps, but I like the routine of making it too. It just makes me feel like my day started. It's the only way to get me out of bed is like to make the coffee unless it's already made for me. But yeah.
So I guess random question off the bat. Do you any cream?
As I've grown older, the cream is less and less, but I do use cream and sugar. But it needs to look like it's coffee, not like milk. I feel like I'm an adult now, like drink coffee to drink coffee. I like the taste of coffee now. So that's good.
Yeah. I've been heavy into cold brew lately and
that's super hipster of you, Ricky. But I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's pumpkin spice season. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm drinking pumpkin spice right now, light pumpkin spice, but
perfect.
I'm also in leggings and Uggs, so I'm really doing the basic stuff right now.
What's the temperature out there right now?
Well, it's actually really nice. It's California, but it's, I want to say 60s, but I just run, my hands and my feet are always cold. Yeah. So that's just how it is. As long as my feet are fine, I won't complain. I'll complain about something else, but it won't be from being cold.
All right. So my first question to you is, who is Jessica? Where were you born, raised, and stuff like that?
I was born where I was born, I feel like doesn't really describe me, but I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, which a lot of people don't know. But then they see like all of my kind of affinity with the Ravens. But I was 9 months old when I moved to Monterey, California. That's where my mom is from. So my dad wanted me and my brother eventually, because he wasn't born yet, but he wanted, his family to be raised around her family. We lived there from the time I was 9. And then we moved to Reno. So Reno's my hometown. I lived there for about 20 years. Tried to get out, moved to the Bay Area one time, hated it. And then coincidentally, now I have a job working for NBC Sports Bay Area, but I'm covering my favorite team as a kid growing up. So it's lucky, but those are all the places I went to. So yeah, Reno's not far, which is good. It's three hours away. I could probably go home for the holidays, which is really cool if it's not snowing. But that's my hometown. So if you ever see me, I say y'all a lot. I'm kind of a redneck at heart, and I'm trying to find a good country bar in the Bay Area. So if anybody has any recommendations,
hit her up. So baseball, what drew you to baseball maybe as a kid and then to transition into writing about it?
So I've always loved writing and I've always loved baseball. Obviously I love to talk. I would get A's in my subjects, but I get like an F in citizenship. Because you could put me in a corner and I would still talk. I'd be talking alone, talking to myself. But I actually played baseball growing up until I was about, I think a sophomore in high school. I was playing baseball. And then I tried to try out for the high school team, but the coach was like, unfortunately, we offer softball. It'd just be easier if you played softball and he said it was the same sport. It's not. But it was just my childhood. Like we had our Sunday family dinners at the snack bar. My parents were heavily involved in the community. And, my dad was the president of the Little League. My mom ran the snack bar and she did stats and she score kept and everything like that. And so that was my first taste of what like a batting average was my mom printed out the sheet. I the third best batting average one year. And I don't know what happened. It was the first and only home run I ever hit. I was the only woman to ever make 11, 12 All-Stars for that Little League, I think to this day. And it was just such a building block for my future, because it taught me to be competitive. It taught me to work as a team. It taught me to be independent, because I was the only woman on the team, or girl on the team, forever. And as I grow older, I wanted to be the first female MLB player. Apparently you have to hit like 100-mile-an-hour fastballs over the fence and exceed 5'1", so none of those things happened, of course. And so I was like, well, I like talking. I like writing. I love writing. I think writing is, it's a form of communication that will never die. And it's such an easier way to consume my content, because even though I know a lot of us are working from home, like you're working at your 9 to 5, you want to take a break and read my stuff, it's so much easier to do that than listen to me talk. So I just created a career, and it's the short version of it, Ricky, is like, I wanted to do it and I went out and I did it. And now after a bottle of wine, I'll tell you like the blood, sweat, and tears story, but I just wanted it and I knew I was going to get it. Everything I've ever wanted, I pretty much had in my life. And I'm lucky with that. And so I just remember when I was young, I went to my first A's game, and I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I'm going to cover this team one day. I know I am. And he was like, all right, but like, and he believed me. He was like, he's like, okay, cool. But I don't want you doing it just because you're going to say you're going to do it and you write, whatever. But, and I did it, and NBC gave me that beautiful opportunity. And here I am today, 2 years into my NBC Sports Bay Area job, covering the A's and Giants and baseball nationally. So that's how it started. And I still love baseball to this day. It's a different type of love. It's like, we've been married for so long that it's like the romance may not always be there, but I have such a damn respect for it, and behind the scenes, and the people I've met who've become my family, whether it's the players or their spouses or front office people or just people working behind the scenes, it's just been amazing. So I'm so lucky that I don't know how to describe it. I just remember being little saying like, I'm going to be in baseball for the rest of my life. And I get to do that, which is cool.
It is awesome. I've known you for basically prior to, you making it to where you are now. And I remember like you just being this person that I was like, man, she's a really good writer. You worked hard. Like you just saw it consistently.
Yeah.
And I know you said that already, but for me, that's one thing that was consistent with you was you saw how hard you worked. And if you wanted something, you got it. And it's been crazy to watch you evolve over this course of time, because it's truly amazing. It's an inspirational story, which could lead to my next question. What would you say to the little girls and even to the little boys, you know what I mean? Aspiring journalists trying to enter the world of sports.
I would tell them not to do it. And the reason why I say that is I love to see their reactions. I say, when a girl approaches me, that's what it is. Like, oh, I want to work in baseball. I know I'm going to do it. And it's the same conversation pretty much over and over again. I was like, well, you have to work hard and do that. And they're like, well, yeah, but what else? And I was like, that's pretty much the secret sauce. But that's the thing. Like one of my biggest pet peeves is talk and no action. I see a lot of people tweeting about things they want to do, and it's like, cool, but go out and do it. And that's beyond your career. That's people in your life. They're going to say they're going to do something. If they don't step up and do something, they shouldn't be in your life. And I never wanted to be that person. And so I would talk about it. And a lot of people actually started at the beginning were like, okay, Jess. But then as time went on, they're like, wait, she's actually going to do it. And so I want to see the reactions. If I say don't do it and they're like, oh, okay, you're right. But I like the girls who are like, F off, I'm going to do this. And then I'll be like, cool, let's get a glass of wine and let's talk about it. But I have to be harsh with them. And one of my best friends, Melanie Newman, I had her on one of my podcasts, and it's so hard to find the balance of saying it's a great rewarding career and it's a really crappy career. And it's not a crappy career because of what it is, but I have to work tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I'm working on Thanksgiving and I don't get to see my family as much. Last year I was in the studio, which sounds sexy, right? But no, I was at my desk writing about the Warriors, and I really missed my mom. I couldn't go back home for Christmas. And your social life is different. Sometimes I wouldn't leave the field until 1 o'clock in the morning. And that's a lot. And then beyond that, it's just, it kind of takes over your life. And I was nervous about that at the beginning because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so obsessed with my career. But it's not even necessarily an obsession, because you do have to be obsessed with it if you want to make it. But it's just such an all-consuming sport, because news is 24/7, and we're attached to people, right? Somebody might go out and a trade could happen at 1 o'clock in the morning. We have to be on top of that. So it's a lot of like that. So I kind of hit him with the reality at first. However, I love it. I love it so much. And it's beyond the coolness of saying I was going to do this from the beginning. Like, I played the sport, so I can kind of relate to the guys on a certain level. I never played professional baseball, but I was never given the opportunity, or else I would have loved that. But I love learning from them and storytelling. I love learning from other people in my industry. And I've met the most amazing women and some of the worst women in this industry too. And beyond that, it's so fulfilling. And of course there's the trolls, and then, people talking crap about me, strangers, and harassment. I've been sexually harassed. I've been stalked. All the bad things are definitely there, but the good pretty much outweighs it. But I'm exhausted all the time. I feel like a lot of people don't like me for me. They like me because of what I do. And that's difficult too. But so that's what I tell them. And to be yourself, as stupid as it sounds, the reason why I have so many awesome opportunities is because I threw what I thought I was supposed to be out the door and just presented who I was. And I'm still trying to figure out who I am, but I don't want somebody to be on the other side of my interview thinking like, why is she being fake, or why is she trying to get something from me? Because that's exhausting. And then when you're done pressing record, you're like, who the fuck was that? Like, that wasn't me. So it was just, I want to be myself and show that being yourself is awesome, because when you're yourself, and you're authentic, there's no competition. So that's a huge piece of advice. And then just to keep trucking and push out content and do what you feel is right. And not every journey is correct. You don't have to, I didn't go to school. I'm a college dropout. Like, I did not go to school for this. So it's like, if you want to figure out your own way, that's great. And, but stick to what you do and like work hard, respect people, and network like crazy, and, be true to who you are, and amazing things will happen.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed. For me, it's like, I work the 8 to 5, and then it's like, people are like, man, how do you push out content? I'm like, this content so much. And for me, it's like, I want to make this my 8 to 5, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not particularly these interviews, even with these interviews, but podcasting, writing, and stuff like that. I do write a lot, but people don't understand, like, it's not going to be handed to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it was that easy, everybody would be this said thing. You know what I mean? And to me, it's inspiring to understand. The one thing I didn't know is that you were a college dropout. I mean, I didn't know that. I didn't go to school for writing or anything like that either. So for me, it's like, it's a learning curve, obviously, throughout the process, because you're kind of teaching yourself how to do some of these things. But it's inspiring to understand. That's the first time I've ever really asked that question. And you said, don't do it. But I like the thought process behind it, because if you think about
I
it,
like to see the reaction, because it's a tough industry, and Melanie, I asked her, I was like, hey, like, how do I make it so I don't sound so mean? She's like, no, you're just being honest, and you have to kind of tell it like it is. And I've never been one to not do that. I'm very blunt. If I'm upset with something, if something's not bringing me peace or joy, I get that shit out of my life. And that's also the good stuff. You want the good stuff to come, but the moment something bad, you want to get rid of that too. So I'm not saying it's bad enough to where there's so much bad stuff in this industry where you want to get rid of it, because it's not even necessarily bad. It's just the reality of it. And there's things you have to be careful of and everything like that, but you have to be real. And especially in my line, it's, I'm on camera constantly. I'm constantly on the radio. I'm constantly putting myself out there, which is scary as fuck. It is scary because you give, and one of my mentors at work said, no matter how much good you put out, you're still putting yourself out there to receive criticism. And not a lot of people can handle that. I've been in the industry maybe 5 years, and I'm finally a little bit less annoyed by strangers' comments on the internet, especially when it's a personal attack on my appearance or something like that. It's like, I literally God gave me this nose. What do you want from me? I don't know what you want me to say. So it's just like, it's stuff like that. And it took me a while to get over that. And there's that one saying, like, the people that are doing less than you are going to criticize you. People that are doing more than you are not going to do that. And
Absolutely.
so these people that are coming at me being, if you really think about all the crappy things that have happened to you in your life, the mean people, they're jealous, or they're doing less than you are. You're doing all the things you said you wanted to do. And people are scared to really be themselves. They're so scared. And it's true, because think about it this way: we are in charge of our own happiness, our own success. And that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
But I like to think I have a good sense of who I am, but I'm still figuring it out. And that's what the beauty of the journey is, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when you're public and you're in the public, I don't want to say a public figure, I don't want to say I'm famous, but my stuff's out there. I'm easily accessible on social media. So you have to remind yourself you're not going to be quite there yet, but no holds barred. Get yourself out there and remind you the bullshit is all part of the journey.
Absolutely. So that's one thing that I was going to ask, because one thing that I've noticed over the years is your handling of the trolls. I don't want to give the trolls the time of day, but the flip side of that is, and you somewhat answered it, but how would you explain to somebody how to handle the trolls?
It varies. I get in trouble a lot for what I say to the trolls. But I'm also not one to like, and especially if it's a BS thing, like this one troll who's literally been harassing me for 10 years. He'll be like, oh, well, she stole these quotes from somebody, when it was an exclusive interview that I attained. I was the host. And so like, they're literally lying. So if you hit them with facts, they're going to look bad. But that's what sucks, is people see the stuff that's being said to you. So it really depends. I'm lucky enough where NBC's told me to be like, Jess, you need to relax. And I'm glad I have that. But they also know that they knew what they were getting when they hired me. Like, I'm not going to stand for shit. And so it just varies. Most of the time it's better to ignore. Most of the time it really, really is. And that took me a long time to come to Jesus and be like,
hard.
okay, they are not, it's so hard. It's so hard, especially when they're, like I said, like coming at you BS and like, oh, well, Jess did this. And like, that's literally not true. I got the exclusive interview. I did this, I did that, and everything like that. But I have amazing people in my corner who understand, and stuff like that. So it's most of the time just stay silent. Your first hater though, like, brush your shoulder off, mama, you made it. and that's you're like, cool. But that's the thing that sucks. Don't go to advice from somebody who's a 9 to 5, or no offense, but they're going to be like, oh, just ignore it, grow a thick skin. Okay, Rob, you're in your cubicle IMing Joe, who is 2 cubicles over.
Yep.
Don't tell me to grow a thick skin. You have no idea what I'm going through. Being a woman and looking like I do, I'm always going to be, I'm immediately I'm a target.
Yep.
And but I'm not going to not dress cute. I'm not going to not do my eye makeup and my hair to make you feel more of a man. I'm not going to deal with that. And so that's where I get upset. But like I said, let yourself go, send it to your friends, be like, oh my gosh, it's fine. But I do work for a really big company and I don't want them to look bad. And my tweets show up on where my podcast is on the website. But sometimes it's okay to kind of be honest. If you're going to swerve on guys, you just better back it up with facts. And that's what all my girlfriends say. Like, if you're going to just say something stupid, like, like if somebody says my hair looks bad, that's literally untrue. My hair doesn't, like, that's like I'm offended by that. And my mother, who worshiped me and gave me this gorgeous hair, is probably going to be offended too. So that stuff I don't stand for. But saying that like my work is incorrect and stuff, like I'm gonna have typos.
Yeah,
that happens.
Yes.
It's like, good for you. You found a typo. That's awesome. But and that stuff is whatever. But personal attacks.
Thank you, grammar police. I appreciate
yeah, like, good
that.
for you, dude. But
thanks for reading though. I appreciate the click.
Yeah, I'm like, my boss liked that you clicked it. Like, everything's fine. So it's kind of like from that. But personal attacks on family, like, that's when it's another thing. Like, I've had to go, that's the beauty of working for a big corporation, is you can go to places. But if you're working for yourself, like, that's scary. Like, I've had to go to the police before and stuff like that. So know your not only your limits, but your the place you work for is limits. And luckily I have an amazing support system where even if I am annoyed by a tweet, I just forward it to them and they take care of it, and everything like that. But at the end of the day, these people are miserable. And like I said, if they're doing less than you, that's when they're going to come at you. So
100%.
just try to be strong about it. And giving into it too much just makes you look stupid. Like I hate when girls are like, oh my God, they're mansplaining me. They're not always going to be mansplaining you. Like just chill a little bit. Stop bitching about being a woman in sports. We know it sucks. But when you're tweeting constantly about how tough it is, it's like you could be writing an article. You could be booking a guest. And to me, all those haters who used to talk crap, like they can't say anything now. Like I kept progressing because even yeah, at the beginning, sure, I wasn't always going to be on it, and I was still learning and stuff. Of course you're going to come at me, but that's more motivation for me.
100%. I like that. So let's have a little fun here.
This has been fun the entire time. I don't know what you're talking about. I've been having a blast this entire time.
It's not a minute, but well played. All right. So there's one thing that I know you hate a whole lot.
Oh my, just ballpark proposals.
It is.
Okay.
Why?
Okay, so when I was little, this was my dream. I always wanted to be proposed to by a guy at a game, on the mound, whatever. But as time went on, I became older, and this is going to sound really stupid, and like this is so not part of the podcast, but I always get asked, why are you single? Ironically enough, it's because I do take relationships seriously. That's why I'm single. I can make a phone call. I can tweet a guy. I get proposed to on Twitter all the time. This is not, my mom's pumped about it. James 45321, maybe I will marry you one day. Who knows? But as I get older, I love love. I love it so much, but I think society has made it so they want to make a spectacle out of a proposal. And you're doing it in front of strangers. You're getting validation from fucking strangers. Like, that's pathetic. B, you're interrupting my game. If I'm there watching a game and you really want to, you really want to do that, and like, that's stupid. And not to mention, it's just like a slap in the face of love. It's like, okay, so those are the main things. And I'm just like over them. And now it's like, I'm not like annoyed and like, I don't want to say I'm bitter because I'm like a single woman, but it's just like, it's stupid. They're stupid.
Yeah, because for me, it's not just like the ballpark ones. It's like the one in the middle of the mall. It's the one in the middle of Times Square. Like, it's
like Times Square is dope. Don't get me wrong. There's a ball dropping and we're hammered off of champagne. Let's go. But like, if you interrupt me eating my helmet nachos and you want to spend the rest of your life with me, you'll let me finish my nachos before you ask me to marry you. That's it. However, I think my future husband's totally going to propose to me at a baseball game because I'm hoping I date somebody who's a total like troll with me and like is like, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, cool, fuck you, but yes.
Just be like, no, walk out, and when they get back to the house,
it's like, kidding, because like you're my ride, so I have to come back. You're my ride home.
I like that. Tell me something that you've learned through this quarantine.
How to try to stop overthinking so much. I'm the most confident person you'll meet. I'm also the most insecure person you'll meet, and so I'm trying to work on my overthinking. And I didn't overthink until quarantine. That's because we're isolated. We're doing all of our stuff. But I also learned how capable I am of amazing things. I launched 2 shows during quarantine, 2 fucking baseball shows during quarantine. I covered a baseball season during quarantine. I managed to make amazing relationships with people to help me become like hopefully a better insider in quarantine. And you kind of realize who is like down for you legitimately, like your actual people. So I actually am very lucky. I had a very successful 2020. I got an opportunity to host the World Series. I couldn't do it because of I guess I'm gonna say like company restrictions, but the fact that one big television company wanted me to host a World Series event from here, like, blew my mind. And how to just be softer with myself. Like I put so much pressure on myself to do so many things when I'm already doing so many things. Like
Ugh,
I'm doing great,
I feel like it just spoke to my heart there. Like that one's to
Yeah.
me, it's like,
And I think we're all going through some shit right now.
yeah.
And I of all like I of all people, and like there are so many beautiful people that you can lean on to. That's probably the number one takeaway. Like I vent to so many of my friends when I'm overthinking, and the good ones will be like, it's okay. Tell me more. Keep going. Lay it on me. Let's go. So there are so many beautiful takeaways from quarantine, and just to like slow down a little bit. My life was constantly go, go, go. And between, I would commute 5 days a week into the city, which is an hour and a half each way. And that was exhausting. And to know that, and it makes me miss people, which is cool. I love that I have beautiful people in my life that I can miss. So a lot of good shit actually happened in quarantine.
See, that's the thing for me too. Like when people say like, 2020 has been awful, and it has not been grand for a lot of people, and I understand that. But for me, Ricky Valero, personally, I've had a really good year. You know what I mean? I launched a
Yeah. And you
podcast
shouldn't feel
network.
bad about that. I felt
No,
awful about that. I was
yeah,
like telling I like didn't tell a lot of people that I was launching. I didn't tell people I was launching a podcast because I was worried they were going to be like, well, I lost my job or I did this. And like,
for sure.
you should be empathetic toward or sympathetic toward people, but you also should celebrate yourself because we're capable of amazing things. And to know that I dug deep enough and I worked like
Exactly.
I knew I could do it. But when you actually see it to do it and like embrace it too. Like I'm always like, cool, I launched 2 shows. What's next? What's next? You launched 2 shows, babe. That's fucking awesome.
Exactly.
Like chill on that a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to like we're in the same wavelength when it comes to that. For me, it's like, all right, I did this. All right, now what else can I do? Like, what else do I
Yeah.
not have time for? Can I
Yeah.
do? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the grass is always greener, right? Like, cool, like I did that, but like I can't do this and this isn't happening. I'm not a billionaire yet. It's like chill, just like you still have a job and stuff like that. So it's been
One player you want to interview?
Everybody's always like Joey Votto. I've interviewed Joey Votto. Chill. Man, I don't know. Maybe Eric Chavez because he's the reason why I fell in love with the A's. So he's definitely on my list. I could probably make it happen, but I'm kind of waiting for that right moment. And Vince Scully for sure. Women wise, I definitely want to interview Kim Ng. Absolutely. I've been covering her career for so long, and I was always writing about her. She almost got the job. The job. And so when the Marlins hired her as a GM, it was like, so probably, yeah, I think those 3 are probably the main 3.
I like it.
You notice Vince Scully, I don't have to give a reason why, just because Vin fucking Scully.
Right. Anybody else you need to have like an essay for, but him is just, we already know. Describe Jessica in 1 word.
Dynamic.
I like that. All right. So my last question for you. It's my favorite question to ask anybody. What is your favorite Taylor Swift song?
It's a great question. I think Out of the Woods. That one has been on my repeat for off and on for quite a while, only because everybody's gone through that in a relationship. Like, are we still going through the bullshit or are we out of the woods? Like, what's going on? And it's also like her little like sassiness, because Taylor Swift's been through some shit.
For sure.
But so have I, but I don't have like a platform to talk about it. And she did, and she turned it into like $1 billion of amazingness. So I think that one's really, really good. But I do like her old Enchanted was really good too. Yeah, I really liked Enchanted. I feel like that was a good one too. And then Sparks Fly, that's a good one. But I think Out of the Woods recently, that's just been, it's one of those songs that you don't like skip. You listen to it.
Okay. Where can we find you?
You got my address? I just finished telling you how many weird people stalk me. Twitter at Kleinschmidt JD, and then Instagram Jessica Kleinschmidt. Mama just hit 50,000 followers on Twitter.
Congratulations.
When
I started following you, had like 1,300 maybe or something like that.
I remember when I had My 1,000th follower, I will always, Casey Sogard, her husband is a baseball player. He played for the A's. She was my 1,000th follower. I never told her that. She's also the first person to ever listen to me on the radio. And just, it's insane. Like, and she's still in my life, and it's really cool.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.